Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to who's ever watching at whatever time. We are back again. We are going to recap the NBA playoffs, the NFL draft, and some other things. Starting off with the Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Los Angeles Lakers in 5 games with the exceptional rebounding performance from Rudy Gobert. The Timberwolves' larger lineup proved that they out destroyed the Lakers in offensive boards. Luka Doncic's defensive performance was suspect. Some people are now easing back on some of the heat on Nico Harrison. No one's saying that he's right, but some are saying maybe he was on something. I still find it more ridiculous, but there are some thoughts that are out there in the world. Over yonder tonight, on Friday, the Timberwolves await the winner of the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors series. The Warriors still maintain a 3-2 lead after going back to Houston, being on more cruise control. It didn't seem like Team Houston was more the desperate team, and it showed with a smashing performance from the Rockets. The series returns back to San Francisco with Golden State getting the opportunity to clinch once again. Today, we have the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers, with the Nuggets having a 3-2 series lead. Been the series of the playoffs this year, and it's been wildly entertaining. I missed the last game watching it. Look forward to watching tonight's game, and hopefully it goes to 7 because I just am loving these two teams go at it. They will play the winner of the 1-seed Oklahoma City Thunder, who did sweep the Memphis Grizzlies 4-0. Memphis did make it interesting for a game and then blew a lead, and then Oklahoma City won, and that is how it is. Some are pointing to whether if it was the firing of head coach Taylor Jenkins is what happened to Memphis. Some are pointing to whether Ja Morant's game hasn't evolved year after year compared to Anthony Edwards. Because Anthony Edwards, if you've seen his last few playoff performances, he's evolved his game and has stepped up year after year after year after year after year. And Ja Morant still seems like he's still good, still great, still a face franchise, great, all that. However, he's just not. There's something still missing, and that might prevent the Grizzlies from being a dominant force in the Western Conference. But we shall see. Moving over to the Eastern Conference, in the blowout series of this entire NBA playoffs, truly, the Cleveland Cavaliers just destroyed the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat just didn't really have much of a chance. They did what they could do, but the Cavs are just too overpowered to handle for the Miami Heat to handle. They will play the 4-seed Indiana Pacers, who just came off of a gentleman's sweep to the Milwaukee Bucks, winning 4-1. The Bucks unfortunately lost their star player Damian Lillard to an Achilles injury, which has been confirmed now. And at the end of Game 5, Tyrese Halliburton's dad got into some confrontation with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Halliburton's dad has now been banned from Pacers games for the foreseeable future, statement that they put out. The Pacers' depth showed the future of the NBA, per se, where the Pacers are built for the long term, where the Bucks are built for now, and where you're the Milwaukee Bucks, where do you go? Because Damian Lillard is now will be in his mid-30s by the time he's fully recovered. Middleton's gone, Holiday's gone. They don't really have a bench. What's their third best? Lopez most likely will be gone. Their big acquisition, the splashy move, Kyle Kuzma, did not prove to be much of a needle mover, and they don't have like that one young prospect that they can develop into something. So it's very interesting to see where do the Bucks go from here. Does Giannis leave? I would say no, because I feel like there's just something about this era of star international players wanting to stay with a franchise. Granted, the obvious example would be one Luka Doncic when he had said he had no plans to leave Dallas. I will say if Giannis does leave for the sake of the NBA, it would be more ideal for him to be an Eastern Conference team, because if Giannis is in the Western Conference, then the Eastern Conference will just be Boston, Cleveland, and everyone else. Then in Indianapolis, of course, and the Knicks. But that's just really about it. Just Boston, the Knicks, Pacers, and Cavs. That would be truly it. And then whoever just decides to be good, in this case, the Detroit Pistons decide to fill that void as they will play tonight. Let me confirm. Yes, in the middle of it right now. The Knicks and Pistons, with the Knicks having a 3-2 series lead. My friend of mine had said going in the series would be Knicks in 6. Knicks do have a road to make the conference finals, positive finals, but they have a Boston-sized elephant in the way after Boston had a gentleman's sweep of the Orlando Magic. And you wonder, oh, these are just gentlemen sweeps and blowouts. Yes, but at least the Orlando Magic tried, and the Memphis Grizzlies tried, at least for a game, in trying to beat their other teams. Miami just didn't, not saying they didn't try, they always try. However, Miami just couldn't do anything against Cleveland. The Pistons showing that they are not dead yet. I figured the Knicks would get them done in 5 after Detroit's initial start to the playoffs. I figured the Knicks had them done and had it in the bag, but no, Detroit's shown that they came to fight, and they will take from there. The winner of the Knicks Pistons will play the Boston Celtics, and of course the winner of the Nuggets Clippers will play the 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder. Let us move on to the NFL draft. As I take a swig of this water real quick. Here we go. The NFL draft has concluded in Green Bay. A memorable weekend for many different reasons. Some controversial, some reasons for can't get the word for happiness, some out of frustration. The usual reaction to the NFL draft. The obvious story that you've heard beaten into the ground so many times now is the slide of Shedeur Sanders. I will try to not go too much into it. I will leave it as this. I've heard that the interviews went bad, and that was what possibly would have caused the slide. I was shocked that he slid that far, because I'm wondering how bad could it have been for him to slide that far. For being at least in mock drafts had him as high as 2nd overall to round 5. Something must have happened. Maybe perhaps it could be the way how his attitude is. I still find that very I find it very odd by the NFL. By all 32 teams on multiple occasions, and then selecting other quarterbacks that weren't him. Because I assumed he was, from the highlights and some of the stuff I've seen from him, I figured he would be second best quarterback out of the class. And very interesting, they also went to Cleveland, considering in the 3rd round they selected Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, as I am, yes, wearing my Oregon shirt. And I wasn't mad. I was happy for Dylan Gabriel. I just didn't expect him to go ahead of Shedeur Sanders, and I didn't expect Jalen Milroe or the new quarterback drafted by New Orleans Saints, Tyler Shuck, and to slide that far. So we'll see how it all pans out. Very, very interesting going in that Cleveland locker room to see even the quarterback room, where you have Deshaun Watson coming off Achilles, and the fan base and the team don't want to say they don't have his back, but it's awkward. You got Kenny Pickett and his 2 small hands, and didn't pan out at Pittsburgh for a reason. You go Joe Flacco, who might be the most ready quarterback out of the 5 that are currently in the room. Drafted Dylan Gabriel, who is very experienced and has won a lot in college football. Only downside is probably just his height, at least what many have said. And then you have Shedeur Sanders, who has a very big personality and has a lot of people supporting him. And some Cleveland Browns players showed their support where they didn't show for Dylan Gabriel, and people are trying to say, oh, are they already decided and whatnot. I think that's just a stretch, because I think just based on all that Shedeur expected and what many expected to happen didn't happen, I believe it's just more of like just rally around him sort of thing. But we'll see how it all pans out training camp. And for the other thing on the NFL draft, amongst other things, I will eventually talk about who won or my winners and losers of the draft and whatnot. Um, but it's still so fresh, and I just haven't gotten to it based on time. But one thing I do wish stopped per se would be stop recording yourselves if you're going to be doing these prank calls with these draft prospects. I find it foolish because if it's on the internet, it's most likely forever. And of course, the obvious one I'm mentioning is the one with Shedeur Sanders, and the fact that it was Falcons defensive coordinators, or is he defensive? Yeah, I'm just gonna say D. Let me check. Confirming it real quick. It is defensive coordinator. Jeff Ulbrich's son was in a video where someone had pretended to be general manager Mickey Loomis of the New Orleans Saints. They're about to draft Shedeur Sanders at 40 overall, which ended up being Tyler Shough. Got seen live via the Sanders media group, Well Off Media. As shown, it was a very awkward and weird thing, which prank calls happen all the time, of course, but that obviously should stop in general. I don't know how these numbers get out by the Sanders situation, but I don't get the thought process behind recording it as if like not thinking if you like I don't know if you don't what do you expect not for something bad to go wrong. It's just something that's just weird to me. In other news, nothing too crazy, but we do have some news in the NFL.